Audioslave was never just another supergroup. It was more like a wild chemical reaction, a really bold experiment that took two of the most powerful, most distinct sounds of the 90s and just smashed them together. So today, we're going to break down how this incredible and frankly unlikely synthesis actually happened. So how do you even start to merge two forces that are this different? I mean, on one hand, you have the tight, militant, rhythmic precision of Rage Against the Machine, and on the other, you've got the sprawling, soulful, existential angst of Soundgarden. On paper, it just shouldn't have worked. At all. All right, so where does the story even begin? It all kicks off in 2001. The rock world had been seriously shaken up, with these two massive voids left by the breakup of a couple of the 90s' absolute biggest bands. But, from those ashes, something totally new was about to be forged. Okay, so let's set the scene. Back in 1997, Soundgarden decides to call it a day, which left Chris Cornell navigating a solo career. Then, fast forward to 2000, and Rage Against the Machine fractures when Zach De La Rocha walks away. Suddenly, the instrumental engine of Rage, Tom Morello, Tim Comerford, and Brad Wilk, this incredibly powerful unit, was left without a voice. So who was the matchmaker here? Who saw this potential? None other than the legendary producer Rick Rubin. He looked at these two separate pieces and saw synergy that pretty much nobody else did. He's the one who suggested the guys from Rage just try jamming with Chris Cornell, and that sparked one of rock's greatest what-if moments that actually came true. And that initial chemistry, wow, it wasn't just good, it was absolutely explosive. The four of them get in a room together, and in their very first 19 days, they created something just stunning. And get this, in those 19 days, they wrote 21 songs. 21! This wasn't just a casual jam session. It was a massive, prolific burst of creativity that told everyone involved, okay, this isn't a side project, this is a real band. So let's break down the actual formula here. What did each person bring to the table? First, you've got Chris Cornell with that jaw-dropping 4-octave range and his deeply poetic lyrics. Then you have the engine room from Rage. Tom Morello, a true architect of sound, Tim Comerford with his complex, snarling bass lines, and Brad Wilk laying down this foundation of minimalist power and just deep, deep groove. Okay, so they've got the lineup, but how did they intentionally build a sound that was uniquely Audioslave and not just some lazy mashup of their old bands? Let's dive in. They made their intentions crystal clear with this single line, printed right there in their album liner notes. It was basically their mission statement. In an age of synths, samples, and studio tricks, Audioslave made this bold commitment to pure, organic musicianship. Every single sound you hear came from a guitar, a bass, a drum kit, or a human voice. Period. Now, this was a huge deal. To deliberately avoid sounding like Rage, Tom Morello made a really key change. He brought in a new primary guitar, his Soul Power Stratocaster, and he consciously shifted his playing style to be more melodic. That decision right there helped define the Audioslave sound from day one. And this right here, this is the gear behind the genius. His Digitech Whammy pedal is what created those iconic, pitch-shifting solos that honestly sound more like a synthesizer than a guitar. And of course, his Marshall JCM 800 amp head has been the absolute core of his tone since 1988. This was the toolkit he used to build a completely new sonic architecture for this band. At the exact same time, Chris Cornell's voice was evolving in a major way. He was moving past the raw screams of his grunge days into this more sophisticated, almost bluesy style. Yeah, his 4-octave range was insane, but it was his technique that set him apart. He used what's called healthy distortion, basically using his false vocal folds to get that signature grit without shredding his voice. It was pure power, but with perfect control. Okay, so this unique sound didn't just sell records. It propelled the band to incredible heights and led to their most dramatic, most historically significant moment, one that had nothing to do with the charts and everything to do with changing the world just a little bit. I mean, this was a huge deal. Think about it. On May 6, 2005, Audioslave played a massive, totally free concert in Havana, Cuba. This was not an easy thing to pull off. It took months of intense negotiations and required special authorization from both the U.S. Treasury Department and the Cuban Institute of Music. And this timeline just shows you the absolute scramble to make it happen. After all those months of painstaking back and forth, they finally got the green light. And just 36 hours later, the band was on a plane to Cuba, ready to make actual history.
The result was just this stunning moment of what sources called collective catharsis. An estimated 70,000 Cubans came out for the show. 70,000! It was this massive turnout that just proved that music can and does cross any political divide.
And Tom Morello put it perfectly. He famously said that they single-handedly demolished the rock and roll blockade against Cuba. You have to remember, for decades, rock music was viewed with a lot of suspicion there. This one concert challenged all of that and just reinforced the idea that music is a truly universal language.
But, even with these incredible highs, like #1 albums and historic concerts, the internal dynamics of the band were getting pretty strained. The whole alchemical experiment was, starting to fracture.
And then it was over. The end came on February 15th, 2007. Chris Cornell officially announced he was leaving the band, citing irresolvable personality conflicts. After 3 really powerful albums, the fusion had reached its natural and maybe its inevitable conclusion.
So what went wrong? Well, it really wasn't just one thing. Cornell himself talked about how tough it was to be the new guy joining a trio that had already been together for 12 years. On top of that, the other members were getting ready for a Rage Against the Machine reunion, while Cornell was really focused on his next solo record. In the end, it seems he just wanted the creative freedom to make music without the compromises that come with a 4-way democracy.
So where does that leave Audioslave in the history books? What is their legacy? Well, it's found not just in the incredible music they released, but also in the mystery of what they left behind in the vault. Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting for the fans. A huge part of their legacy is this vault of unreleased material that people have been speculating about for years. Songs with names like Sleight of Hand and Techno Ted, they're known to exist, but they have never, ever been officially released. And this isn't just some fan rumor. Tom Morello himself has gone on record about it. He said the band is sitting on at least an album's worth of songs. Now, this raises the really tantalizing possibility of a posthumous album, though he's also been pretty clear that there are no immediate plans to release it. Which leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? In just 6 years and 3 albums, they forged this unique and powerful identity. But was their synthesis a complete success? Or was it a brilliant, fiery experiment that was cut short, leaving all of us to wonder what more could have been?